Alexander Tschentscher is Head of Supply Chain Excellence at Siemens, and he's going to talk to us on the topic of Think Strategic, how we create the robust and sustainable culture to design the supply chain of the future. So I shall hand you straight over to Alexander.
Thank you. Hello. That's the third time I'm here on stage. I'm sharing a little bit our journey, how we create the supply chain of the future. 3 years ago, I started by giving some insights of the strategic diamond, the model we created, how to connect your strategy with what happens in the market and the trends. Last year, I was able to join a panel discussion where we had exchange on automation, digitalization, and artificial intelligence. And this year, I want to focus a little bit on culture and why I think culture is important and why I think strategic thinking is important. So who's talking today? This is going to be me, created by artificial intelligence, Gen AI. That's my name, Alexander Tschentscher. Born German, lived in the US. And I basically create, I speak, and I motivate. And I do this for the supply chain of the future. And if you want to have a role, I'm responsible for supply chain excellence and supply chain strategy in smart infrastructure business in Siemens. So my boss said, if you go there on stage, you have to tell them something about Siemens. Don't run away, I'm going to make this quick, but I'm giving you some insights. I think it's important that you see with which numbers I'm dealing with. So Siemens, we have what we call 4 industrial businesses. Digital industries, basically factory automation. Smart infrastructure, where I'm working on, this is low and medium voltage, so it's transmission and it's controls. Mobility, the trains. Not a good thing for Germany right now. We are not really on time. We're working on that, but we are actually not really on time. And Healthineers, you may have heard about them. They create like the CTs, the MRTs, everything that is needed for the healthcare business. And Advanta is a consultancy. Smart infrastructure, the business I'm working on, we have a rough profit of 70%. We talk about a revenue of 21 billion, around 80,000 people working in this industrial business. So that's our portfolio. I don't want to go in detail. I just want you guys to understand we're working on the building structure, we're working on the grid structure, and we have the industries. So, looking on what I'm dealing with. I have a classical supply chain, which means I have product business, make to stock, I have system business, make to order, and I have project/service business. We move around 400,000 tons of freight every year. We have 160 warehouses that we actively use. That's going to be source part, so materials coming in, but it's also deliver part when we distribute to our customers. And our community is around, give a one more or less, is around 4,300 people that we have globally. So let's talk about supply chain. So I think you all are experts in there. Everyone has his knowledge. And normally when we talk about supply chain, we talk about this, right? We have a source part where material is coming in. We have a make part where there's like the heavy machines or the smaller machines create something, products typically, or systems. And then we have a deliver part and the storage part where we bring this all out. There's a digital lever in there with data. You may call it smart data, you may call it big data, whatever you prefer. And then of course there are a lot of activities in there. So if this is supply chain, the question is, what is the heartbeat? And for us, the heartbeat is people. So here comes the challenge. With all that what is happening in this world, with everything that we see, with all the fantastic technical solutions we can see in the fairs over there, with AI, with everything coming in, here's a big risk for people. They can get burned out. And I'm telling you this because I'm like 25 years in the business. And I remember 20 years ago, we had basically a major incident, I would say every 2 weeks. maybe a volcano, maybe some burning harbors, whatever. Today, I have already today, I have 6 incidents in my, major incidents in my supply chain. And I'm not talking about Russian planes crossing the border in Poland. Right? So the number of incidents, the frequency, being able to deal with this is challenging our people. Even leading analysts, when you look at this, talk about this situation. And they give you 4 steps. Interesting part is here, transformation. It's going to be narrative. So what is the story? What is the logic that we explain? The quality and the assessment and the communication. So I'm going to give you a story why words matter. And I have attended in the morning a session where we were talking about resilience. Like everyone talks about resilience. It's going to be important. We have to be better in resilience. We have to be stronger. And it sounds for me as if this is a strategic goal. And let me tell you why I don't think resilience is a strategic goal. I'm going to give you Alex's greatest hit. It's one of my famous stories. So, I am a cancer survivor. 15 years ago, when I was diagnosed cancer, I wanted to be resilient. I wanted to survive at any costs. And believe me, fighting cancer has a high cost because you put poison in your body called chemotherapy. And by statistics, that's going to reduce your lifespan by 10 years. Once I was diagnosed cancer-free, and we always knock on wood when we say this, I didn't want to be resilient. I didn't want to go out and say, I need better insurances. I need a stronger network of doctors. I need to understand the best medicines because cancer is coming back. No, I wanted to be robust. I wanted to make sure everything I can that cancer is not coming back. That is a difference. And that's a difference for the people, that's a difference for the teams, and yes, words matter. So if the world is changing, how do we transform? What is that? Well, we focus as a, I would say, bigger than mid-sized company, right? The Forbes 500, as Siemens is. So very often, when it comes to transformation, I think we do the following. We put a racing car in front of our people, and we say, you have to drive this, and you have to drive this fast, and you have to do the best lap. And we never ask them, do you have a driving license? That was a wake-up call for us. Because we're putting all of these efforts in creating strategies. We're putting all of these efforts in communicating strategies. And we never ask our people, do you have the essential understanding, the tools, the methods, the leverage to work with this? So that was my starting point, coming in and say, okay, if we want to be excellent, we have to do something here. Because in the end, we all strive for performance. And performance is effectiveness, it's efficiency, quality, productivity, and conduct. And whatever we put on the other side of that slide, it will always come to people. It will never go in a direction that you say, no, it's not people, it's going to be a number. We talked yesterday night on one of the dinners in regards to artificial intelligence. Fantastic things, right? A lot of opportunities. Still, in the end, it's going to be ending with people. So, starting point for me, what can I create to support my people, to support this more than 4,000 people that I have daily working in the supply chain through every level? So we're not talking about top management, we're talking about the forklifters. We're talking about the guys who package the materials, the procurement guys who place the orders, who expedite through the whole chain. So Marcus Aurelius gave me a good hint, Roman emperor. He said, that which is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bees. So I thought, honeycomb. We need to create something for our team in the structure of honeycomb. I'm going to show it to you. Don't be scared. It's a lot of information in there, and it's also available. So whenever you want to have this, you don't have to read everything there, but I want to show you what we have created. So it's called the honeycomb. Every element in here has a relevance for your strategic thinking. It doesn't mean you have to do everything of this. You have to cherry pick whatever is important. It comes from culture, it comes from understanding of leading, purpose, efficiency. And we have created a structure on this. I'm going to give you some insights on this also. So we created what we call the Master of Strategic Thinking. This is available for all our teams. This is available for our cross-functions also. I'm not only talking about my supply chain members. I have commercials in there. I have engineers in there. And what they do is they can assess how is my understanding in strategic thinking. It's a self-assessment. It's basically an app structure they can do on their favorite device. And then we provide trails for them. This is how they can learn. This is how they can exchange. All of this is happening. Step 1 and 2 is online. At their pace, at their time, at their place. Then we offer experts. If we start creating the fire and they are willing to continue, they can do this. Again, this structure is online. And the final one is the sparking here. These are dedicated workshops, basically 2 days. We call this the strategy boot camp. We bring them together. We make the investment also. And then they really get 2 days' time to work on their logics. Why is that important? Because very often we go in and we look at our supply chain organization, and they are typically very tactical driven, very operational. I like to call them firefighters. Most important, right? If there is a fire, you want to have the firefighters, right? But still, firefighters search for fire, they fight the fire, and then they search for the next fire. Coming back to one of my first slides, it's going to be a consequence in burnout. So, why is that important? Here are the 4 areas we believe we have to focus in our supply chain. It's administrations and regulations. It's artificial intelligence. It is workforce evolution. And it is sustainability cascade. I picked 2. I didn't pick artificial intelligence. I think there's a lot of knowledge out there in the main lobby with all these interesting offerings. I picked out administrations and regulations and sustainability cascades. Supply chains, as of today, are actively shaped by administrations, and they use regulations to create strong influence. And you can say, well, I'm saying is crap, but just look what's happening between US and all the other countries. Don't think that tariffs is only a model to foster investments or to reduce from a very global supply chain to more a local supply chain. There are many other elements behind that. And what we see when we look in our trends is that it's more and more used to not only put pressure on companies or brands, but also on countries. So what does this mean for our teams, right? These are the 5 things. We need our teams to act. We need our teams to participate. First, production footprint, especially in the bigger companies I'm working in, demands orchestration. In the past, we made a green field, we made a brown field, we mixed all of this together, and then we gave it a try. And a good example, for example, is right? That's when the German is coming out from me. Interesting here is we're talking about redundancy. You get a second source or maybe a third source to be on the safe side in your risk assessment, and then you find out like it's the same country. The dependency to that country, maybe the political guidance. The one is following the other. Localization. In the past, we were very strong on globalization. Then my boss, Roland Busch, created the artificial work of localization to try a little bit of the localization and the globalization in there. But finally, if we see what's happening in this world, it goes more to localization. And it's not like with a tipping of your finger, with a snap. You have to guide this. That's where our teams need to come in. They have to raise their hands. They need to say, like, okay, this is what we can do. I talked about this also in the morning. Every value chain effect has a ripple in the supply chain. And an interesting example is here, if you use artificial intelligence for your purchase order process, you need to make sure that your suppliers are able to deal with this, or they're going to have a problem. The only thing what you're going to do is like you move the problem forward in the supply chain. So you have to understand that. And then, of course, we talked about this a little bit, the dynamic interpretation of robust concepts, right? Resilience, call for resilience. My example always is in the US, if you put everything on DEFCON 5, DEFCON 5 is you're gonna be your normal, right? This is you all know this, yeah? We started with urgent, then we say it's very urgent, it's extremely urgent, it's urgent, urgent. What comes next, right? It's just wording. Second thing, sustainability. No one wants to save Mother Nature anymore, unfortunately. We all know we have to do this, but when we see what's happening in this world, sustainability evolves towards regulation-enabled direction. And it needs to act in line with business purpose. There was a time where we were trying out a lot of things. Now we're pulling off of this, and we only create on the ones that make sense. Regulation becomes a go, no-go gate for sustainable activities. We see different dimensions in regional approaches. And I can tell you, it's different in the US, it's different in Mexico, and it's different in China. So scaling is a big question. Even if you have a nice idea or a great idea or the best idea, how do you scale that? You need your people. You need your people to understand that. The classical trend of overall net zero becomes very blurred. And financial incentives act as a major strong decision element. So if we see this is our projection. This is where we want to focus from a strategic point of view. We need our people to understand and work with this. And that's why we do this, what I told you, on this enabling, on these understandings. So here's my takeaway, looking on the time so that we may have some left for the one or the other question. First, I want to encourage you. I want to spark the idea of enabling strategic thinking in your teams. I know all the commercials in the room will say, yeah, but when is the payback coming? And it always comes indirectly. But it's a good investment. I can guarantee this to you. It minimizes the risk of delay of strategic implementation. When I started with Siemens, our range of strategic implementation was 10 to 15 years. Now, our range of strategic implementation is 3 to 5 years, even shorter. You need to maintain a high level of strategic relevance. Focus is the keyword. Why? Because we are supply chain guys. We love the fire. We want to fight the fire, and we want to go on to the next fire. And you want to create a strategy-supportive culture. With my history, with my company, I can tell you a lot of people go in, so like, I can make it through the rain. They're going to come with the strategy. I'm just waiting what's going to happen, and then I'm seeing if I board the train, yes or no. You need this supporting culture. So, I think we're good in time, right? So in the end, what I'm telling you or what I show to you is a little bit journey. And what we do is we share this. So I encourage you guys to join me on LinkedIn. I'm not only sharing our story, I'm also sharing the papers that we develop. So for example, you find the logic of the strategic thinking honeycomb. You find the diamond model there in case you want to deep dive. And I'm always happy to get some feedback, some information. What are your thoughts on that? So in case you are interested, and I think network is all in these times, right? You're happy to join and connect with me in LinkedIn. So with this, I hand over back to you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Sure you'll agree that was an excellent presentation.